Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. And today is going to be a very special video. I will be buddy reading Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill with 4 other lovely ladies here on BookTube. Before I get into more of the video, I do want to say this idea was inspired by Gavin from Gavin Reads It All, Gabby from Gabby Reads, and Katie from Katie Colson. They all 3 did a buddy read series collaboration on their channels, and I will link all 3 of those original videos down below. Essentially, each one of them had a pick for the buddy read, so they did 3 books in 3 videos, 1 collaborative vlog per channel, all reading the same book together. And me and my friends thought it was such a great idea, and we decided it was time to do a big buddy read. And we figured we're all creators, so we might as well vlog it. So we took inspiration from Gabby, Gavin, and Katie. I will link their channel and their videos all down below. Please make sure that you go and watch those videos as well. They are all 3 amazing creators. So in today's video, I will be joined by Mare from Lady Mare Reads, Faye from Books and Chocoholic, Ray from Ray Loves to Read, and Laura, who is half of Hardy's Books. So my pick is Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill, and this book is about a lake monster named Jenny, and I think essentially she lives in this lake and like men go missing, and I think they fall into the lake and she eats them. And then one day a woman falls into the lake who is, I think she's like tied up or handcuffed, and her name is Temperance. And Jenny is like, hold on, I don't think I'm gonna eat you. I think I want to save your life. So Jenny saves Temperance's life. And all that I know about this story is that these 2 become unlikely friends. I thought this was sapphic when I first read the synopsis, but I actually don't think that's the case. So I'm really sorry if you've picked this up because I said it was sapphic. I lied to you on accident. I'm so sorry about that. I wish it was sapphic, but I don't think it is. The only thing I know is that Jenny is a lake monster. There's like a village nearby that Temperance is from, and I think there's like a pastor or maybe a reverend or a deacon who is kind of like, Temperance is causing issues in the village, and something happens and they throw her in the lake. That's like all I know. I don't know anything about the plot other than Jenny and Temperance go off on some kind of quest together, some kind of journey, and become unlikely friends. So we will all be updating at the same checkpoints in the book essentially, and our goal is basically just to see how different or similar our thoughts are and how well we've kind of gauged the interests of the group with our picks. So I think going in, my expectations are going to be that Ray, I don't know if Ray's gonna like it because I think that Greenteeth is supposed to be a little cozy, and I don't think Ray like super loves the idea of cozy, and I also don't think Laura loves the idea of cozy. I could be wrong, but I feel like she also said she doesn't usually read cozy fantasy. I think Mare dabbles in cozy fantasy, and so I feel like there's a good chance she will like it. And Faye, I know, also loved The Starless Sea, and I also love The Starless Sea, so I feel like because I'm interested in Greenteeth and it sounds good to me, like I really hope it also sounds good to Faye. But again, none of us have read it yet, so I guess I'll get to see before everybody else, because I will get their clips and edit this whole vlog before they can see it. So I guess I'll know if everybody liked it first, which is exciting. And if everybody hates it, you'll never see this vlog. I'll pretend it didn't happen. No, I'm kidding.
Hey Rachel's vlog, I am Faye from Books and Chocoholic, and I am here to hopefully share with you my thoughts on Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill. I'm sure that Rachel's already told you all about this. So what are my preconceived conceptions of this book? First of all, that it's not romantasy. Cue the montage of all of us telling Rachel that this is not romantasy. please. This is Celtic folklore. I have done a little bit of research into Jenny Greenteeth since I found out that it is an actual British legend. Jenny Greenteeth was the kind of monster that was like said to live in the lake, and it was to, I assume, scare children away from jumping in the lake and things happening to them. I'm very excited to see how we go about this one, because I am hoping that it means that we get this bond between what is potentially an actual monster who will eat people and the monsters that we make of women who don't comply in the way we want them to. And I am very excited to see how all of this unfolds. I have tabbed up all of the sections where we're going to be checking in, even put notes in here ready to go. So hopefully I will have a good time with this. I do love reading British folklore and Celtic folklore, so I am very excited to see what this author's prose is like when bringing this to life.
Hello everybody, my name's Ray and I'm from the channel Ray Loves to Read. I guess we're reading some romantasy, which is something that isn't usually my jam. I do like a bit of Lani Taylor, but it's not something I've really read a lot of. So I was really excited when I was invited to join my fellow witches in reading some romantasy. Now, the first book that has been chosen is Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill, and since my fellow covenlets, since my fellow, what should we call ourselves? Everyone else started reading this, and my understanding is that it is not actually romantasy and it's more about the friendship, which I'm completely down with, and apparently everyone is loving it. So we're off to a good start. This is not a book I would have picked up on my own. It's obviously very whimsical and nice looking. I tend to be allergic to whimsy, and yeah, the name Greenteeth, again, it doesn't immediately appeal, so I'm really glad to be stepping outside of my comfort zone here. I was hoping for some mer creature romance, some wholesome mer creature sex to to make up for reading the Pisces recently, which wasn't a wholesome read, but did have some merman action. Yeah, so Rachel, you owe me some smut. Anyway, I'm really excited to get started with this, and really excited to see what the rest of the Coven thinks. Catch you after a few chapters.
Hi, I'm Lady May Reads, and we are reading Greenteeth, and I cannot wait. I got an audio arc, so I'm going to go to work and put the audio on and listen, and I will update you on the specific section I meant to update that I have currently forgotten. I'll be back.
We're reading romantasy. I've never really read romantasy. It's a subgenre that has passed me by. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Laura. I make up half of Hardy's books. We talk about predominantly science fiction and fantasy. We also run a bricks and mortar bookshop in Tunbridge Wells in Kent, in the southeast of England. We love talking about books, and if you want to hear us talk about books, check us out. It's a little plug. I've been peer pressured by my friends into reading this subgenre that I've avoided, really. I think possibly even consciously avoided until now, just because I think there's a lot wrapped up in romantasy. There's a lot of stereotypes around romantasy readers that I've always tried to push back against. I need to get past that. I need to reflect on that, do some introspection, and hopefully this project will help me get past maybe slightly internalized misogyny even about romantasy and about the tropes within the subgenre, so that I can come to a place of enjoyment with it. So yeah, really excited to be a part of this, really excited to get stuck in. First book we're reading for this is Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill. So thank you to Rachel. Rachel, man, this looks dope. And immediately it's blowing my preconceptions about romantasy out of the water, because that looks incredible. Like a scary looking lady with an alien face and scary teeth, like bound up underwater. I have no idea what this book is about. Really excited. Woo! So yeah, I'll report back when I get to the end of chapter 8, I think is the first checkpoint. and let you know my thoughts. Woo!
Hi! So, I have read chapters 1 to 8 of Greenteeth, and when I first started this book, I was very much thinking this is not going to be my thing because I'm allergic to whimsy, as I might have said, and oh, it's going to be friendship and fairies, isn't it? Those were my thoughts. We meet our pointy-teethed protagonist, Jenny Greenteeth, quite early on, and she immediately gets into my bad books by admitting to eating kittens. So we get off on the wrong foot. I don't agree with eating kittens. I just want that. I just want that on the record. So Temperance Crump gets thrown into a lake, and Jenny, after a little bit of deliberation, saves her, and we find out that very quickly that all is not well in the village and that there is something evil afoot when it comes to the local pastor. So then this obviously takes them on a quest, and it didn't take me that long to start enjoying this book because it's very kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's a little bit like a D&D adventure in a way. A lot of the lore I'm actually familiar with just because of recently reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, because the idea of kind of like fairy roads and things like that take you into the world of Faerie and the various different fae, that's something that I kind of discovered when I was reading that, which is obviously a lot more serious a book. Yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. It's got the characters are cute and I'm quite fond of them already, and the way that they banter. I definitely think that the hobgoblin Brachus is a good addition to the group, because he allows for kind of like banter and dynamics between them. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And last night when I finished chapter 8, if I hadn't been about to kind of fall asleep on the book face down, I would have just carried on reading. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes next. We've got quests and stuff. I was expecting it all to stay in the lake, and when I first started reading it I was like, where is this gonna go? There's like not really anywhere this can go, but it does look like it's going to be an adventure with unlikely companions, so that is dead cute. I love it.
I've read up to the point which is end of chapter 8 was the check-in point, and I'm now going to give you some thoughts. I managed to read this while I was at work doing the horses, and I've come home and now all I need to do is clean the rabbits and I have to stop reading, though I don't want to. So here are my thoughts, and I'm going to go continue on while I muck out some rabbits and some chickens. But what are my first initial thoughts on Greenteeth is it's interesting. I don't think it's a romantasy though. It's not giving that usual vibe. I haven't got to the end of it. I don't know if it's like more like a fantasy with a romance. I don't know, but I'm liking all the characters. So there's a Jenny who is like an underlake creature called Jenny, and she is interesting. In the beginning, this happens like the first chapter, where the witch is which I didn't know there was a witch in this, so that's interesting, was thrown into the sea, the lake that the Jenny lives in, and no one really knows that Jenny lives in there, but she does, and she goes on about this doesn't really like human flesh. She eats fish, rabbits, kittens, if people throw kittens away, which makes me feel really, really bad for the kittens, because why would you harm a kitten? But witch is thrown in and she's trying not to, air bubble, and the kind of first meeting, and the Jenny's like, oh, usually if I smile and show all my teeth, they run away, but the way it's said, it's kind of like you could take it as she's just smiling, and it's just funny, and how she's trying to sort of either first off chase the witch away, Temperance the witch, secondly is also then trying to help her and try not to appear terrifying, but because she looks like an underwater monster, it's like, what, she's got all these teeth, she's green, her fingers are overly long and sharp, it would be terrifying, so that I just love that dynamic, and how also like the background of what Jennies are. So you have to literally, for her to speak, because she's mainly an underwater creature, she has to throw up all the water that's in her lungs and then she can speak, which like little things like that, which is just interesting, and I love it. I thought that, and then how they sort of go together. So, but then you have a hobgoblin who is one of those ones.
You want something to buy? I've got you. Trinkets I will sell it to you.
And he is more of a part playing that I thought he was going to originally be. So he is interesting. He's typical man, doesn't like emotions in other women, and he would do anything to shut them up if they're crying. And all of this going on. And I like him. I like the three duos together. And I'm curious to see where they're actually going to end up going and where they're going to end up being like, because it is interesting, especially like Temperance, the witch, who has children. She has a family as well, which is why I'm sort of thinking this probably isn't actually going into the romantasy side of things, but we will see. But there's also somebody in the town who was responsible for pitching everybody against this witch, who they would just know as a cunning woman, and the village has been happy and fine until this person came across, and he is not who he appears to be, which is interesting. And I cannot wait to see what is going to happen next. What are they going to do? You know, they've tried to enlist some help from some high fae, and that's kind of backfired, but has it backfired? And I am invested in this story. I'm not invested in the story if it was a romance, because it just doesn't seem like it's set that up yet. But it's invested in the story for it being kind of cozy, and it seems to be more about friendship than anything else. And you know, that people might not always be what they seem, that you, even if they appear like to be part of, I don't know, a priest or somebody to do with God, or policeman, or just somebody that should be the people that you should trust, that even they are not what they seem. So I'm gonna go and muck out the rabbits, drink my coffee, and listen to some more of this book, because the audio is incredible. I'll try and remember to look up who narrates it, but the audio is really bringing this alive as well. So I'm enjoying myself. I'm definitely enjoying myself. So until the next check-in. Come on, out you come. Your friends are out. Come on, chicken. You go. Come on. You're being not helpful.
All right, so part 1, which is chapters 1 to 8, is done. I have done just a smidgen of tabbing. There's only like 10 tabs there in 100 pages. I have had a good time with this. I've been really enjoying the mythology references. I'm a big mythology girly, for any of you who don't know me. I've been really enjoying that. I do like the tone. The sense of humor is great, because it's like an awkward sense of humor in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like this really awkward person trying to grapple with how to be around humans when they're unaccustomed to it, and it's absolutely brilliant. The writing style feels very T. Kingfisher in tone. Where we've left off from here, I feel like we're definitely going to get a more T. Kingfisher-y vibe to it, which is also going to be great. We also have an interesting pacing going on here. The pace of this one is very much like, it's slow and you're going to have to overcome some obstacles, but in a way that is really, really working for me. So I'm enjoying that. There's these 3 characters specifically that we are following, and I really like how they all feel like fleshed out individual characters. They all have different tones, different senses of humor that are all coming through. Jenny's inner monologue, because it is all in first person, has been such a ride. Like, it's been brilliant being through this POV. And then the setting has been really atmospheric and immersive, and I'm really liking the connections between historical and mythological in a way that is also creating a level of immersion, because obviously it's rooted in the real world, but with all of these mythological elements to it, which I am enjoying. First of all, I would like to mention that the opening line to this is absolutely brilliant. It says, "The witch looked surprised to see me, her eyes blinking furiously at me through murky waters. I don't know why she was so astonished. It was my lake she'd been thrown into. She should have expected I'd come and see if there was anything worth eating." Brilliant opening line. Next up, we had a whole section on how to make a Jenny. So I'm sure other people have already kind of like told you the synopsis of this anyway. And I really love the process of making a Jenny, and that, you know, you can't birth a Jenny. This Jenny specifically has a daughter, but the way that motherhood works is obviously a bit different for a Jenny, but the way that that then allows her to draw empathy for Temperance. But it was also like a really sad description, because it is about a baby gets abandoned or tossed into the lake or whatever, and then Jenny turns the baby into a Jenny. So it's like, it's really sad, but at the same time it means that then this baby gets a chance at life and has a new mother, and also then it's metaphor for the monster you make. People tossing away this baby makes a Jenny. Jenny, and Jenny's and then deemed monsters. We also, when they first meet, had a hilarious section where Jenny is just chatting to Temperance, and she's just talking about the weather to chat to her, which I think is hilarious. There's also a section here which I really appreciated, which was, so when Temperance, obviously she gets thrown in for being a witch, and she's shocked that they would treat her that way, but then she says, they do think I'm a witch. I had forgotten that I was one. I was so upset by my arrest, by the village trying to drown me, that I was thinking like a farmer's wife and a mother, as if I had no defense other than my husband's word. So once again, you know, it's about a woman like reclaiming her power, and especially given that it's a power she's been using to help people that has now been used against her. I did have the suspicion from page 53 onwards that the evil pastor is actually a demon of some kind, which turns out to be true because he turns out to be the Earl King, which is a villain from mythology. One of the things that I really appreciated is that it mentions that he was first heard of along the Silk Road, which, given that Europeans always try and deem it where it's like first heard of by German peoples or by Scandinavian peoples, when it wasn't, we brought it in from the Silk Road, and that then tends to get erasure. So I'm really glad that the author decided to mention that. That was super important. Other myths that have been referenced have been very cool as well. We have at the moment had Merlin, Caradwyn, Morgan, Nicknevin. Another line that I really enjoyed was, I might not have eaten her, but I certainly wasn't good. I wasn't bad either. I simply was. And that's the thing, trying to judge this monster by the moralities of humanity was obviously very interesting, and the way that Jenny doesn't appreciate that, like, just because I've allied myself with you doesn't mean I'm good or bad. I am neither. The fact that the Wild Hunt is mentioned in here, but it is the Greenteeth version of the Wild Hunt, so the Welsh iteration, as opposed to it being like Odin, was obviously very much appreciated, given this is set in England. We have mentions of the Normans, Norman invasion, and Normans being the ones that brought in writing was an interesting choice. The last thing that I have to comment on is that I absolutely loved the description of the Fae court. So we have them trying to go get Greenteeth and give them advice on how to defeat the Earl King and set them some tasks, which is where we're going to enter into next, so that they can see whether they deserve his knowledge or not. But the depictions of the Fae and the Fae court and the way that glamours work and everything and the cruelty of the Fae was absolutely fantastic in here, and I really appreciated that we got into the roots of Fae and within Celtic folklore and the way that British folklore was depicted in here, and I really did appreciate that. I'm very curious to see how all the other girls are faring with this, because obviously I'm a big mythology fan, big history fan. I don't know which of the girls are actually that into mythology and or history, and therefore I don't know how much they will be getting from this other than just like the feminist as heck section to it. It's not like new favorite material just yet, but I'm really liking Jenny's voice.
I've just finished chapter 8 of Greenteeth. I'm having a good time. It's a good book. It is giving me fairy tale vibes. It's giving me like Arthurian legend. We have met our main character, Jenny, who is a Jenny Greenteeth. Now, supposedly, a Jenny Greenteeth is a known creature of English folklore. Now, I have lived in England for 33 and a half years, and I'd never heard of it. So, you know, I did some Googling and I've learned something about supposedly my own mythology. So that's fun. We have met Temperance, who is the witch who's been thrown into Jenny's lake, and Jenny decided not to eat her. Very good. Well done, Jenny. So they have decided to try and break the spell that's been cast on Temperance's village, and found that the parson who turned the village against Temperance is actually a very nasty high fae called the Elm King, who I've never heard of an Elm King ever. No idea what that's supposed to be. So Jenny and Temperance have taken themselves, and along with Brachus, the hobgoblin, who I love Brachus, I think he's so fun. They've gone off to find the high fae at their court to find out how to kill the parson. So it's good fun. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. No romance or smut yet. So I don't know if Rachel's lied to me. Or if it's coming. Having a good time so far.
Okay, I've reached the first checkpoint for Greenteeth. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think Temperance and Jenny are good characters, and I really like Brackus, who is this hobgoblin salesman type creature. Temperance is a witch from this village called Chipling Appleby, I think it's Chipling, not Crippling. And Jenny is a lake monster that lives in the local lake, and she is a Greenteeth monster. At the start of the book in chapter 1, Temperance gets yeeted into the lake by the local parson, who basically pointed fingers like, I know a witch when I see one, and turned the whole village against her, and they threw her in the lake and tried to kill her. And then Jenny found her down there, and Jenny ends up rescuing Temperance, and they have a blossoming friendship. I thought this was gonna be fucking gay. Temperance fully has a husband, and this is not going to be a sapphic romantasy. I really think this is just going to be a friend fantasy. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, so everyone I'm sure is going to be like, what the fuck, Rachel? We were supposed to be reading a romantasy book. But I was under the assumption this was a romantasy book, so that's not my fault. Maybe the description on the back should have been more clear, that there weren't going to be any sapphic undertones in here. Rude, honestly. But anyway, Temperance and Jenny try to band together to get Temperance back to her village and back to her family, basically. And they do this magic to try and erase the fact that she was a witch, like deemed a witch by the church, from the memories of all the people in the village. And it goes wrong because the parson turns out to be this dark, eldritch, evil horror thing called the Earl King. And now Jenny and Temperance, along with Brackus, who is the hobgoblin merchant salesman guy, they're all kind of on a quest to take Temperance to the High Fae King, Gwyn-op Nud. I'm probably saying that so wrong, and I'm so sorry. But anyways, they go to his court after a long walk on basically the yellow brick road on crack, where if you leave the road, you're like fucked and you're gonna lose your memory and like end up lost in the Feywilds, which was kind of cool. I really liked that part. But basically they are asking him for help, and he was going to say no, but his lovely lady, his wife, told him to have mercy on them. And now they're going to do 3 trials, I think it is, and they're basically just like these challenges that the Fae King is giving them to see if they're worthy enough to earn his assistance in fighting the Earl King. And I'm not gonna lie, at first when we were in this scene where Temperance, Jenny, and Brackus were kind of like prostrating themselves before the king, trying to like garner his help, I thought like, oh, he's just gonna agree to help them and then it's gonna be like a really quick fight and then it'll be over. And like, that's stupid because I hate when things like are too easy in books. So I was kind of like, oh man, he's just gonna help them and then like it'll be that easy. But I'm glad that he said no, and his wife was like, maybe you should have some mercy on them. And now they have to do like challenges to earn his help, which I think is going to be really fun. They just got their first quest, which is to go find this wild boar who I guess is like the Boar King, and he's supposed to be really hard to find, and he lives in a enchanted forest, or he like likes to travel through enchanted forests, something like that. His name is also something I cannot pronounce. Okay, it's spelled Twrch, and then the next word is Trwyth, and I have literally no idea how to pronounce this. My brain wants to say like Troth, maybe. And like maybe the W sounds like an O. I don't know what fucking language this is, but I think it might be Welsh. Is a fabulous wild boar from the Legend of King Arthur, a Legend of Wales. So it is Welsh, right? Is Wales in the United Kingdom? Is Wales in England? Is Wales Welsh? Guys, I'm a stupid American. I don't know. Pronunciation. How to pronounce. Oh, in Welsh. Okay, oh my god. It's Welsh. Okay, I'm giving myself a brownie point for that because I'm a classical dumb bitch and I don't know other languages. So I'm proud of myself for knowing that that was Welsh, or at least deducing. How do I want to listen to it? Okay, he said Troith. So I was close. Yay me. Okay, so anyways, they have to find the Troith. I'm probably saying that so wrong. I need to listen again. So they have to find the Troith. They have to find the boar. They have to find this wild boar, but they aren't allowed to kill it. They have to comb it with a silver comb and get poison from its like quills or whatever, and then bring that comb infused with the poison back to the fairy king, who is Gwyn Ap Nuth. Gwyn Ap Nuth pronunciation. Look at, we're learning today. Rosetta Stone, here I come. Gwyn Ap Nith. Gwyn Ap Nith. Gwyn Ap Nith. They're saying it with an accent. Gwyn Ap Nith. I'm so sorry if any Welsh people are watching this. I'm trying really hard. They have to take that poison infused silver comb back to the fairy king, Gwyn Ap Nith, and then he will give them the next quest to prove their worthiness, and so on until the third one. And then after the third one, if they come back alive after that, he will help them in some way to kill or fight the Earl King. So, and I'm really enjoying the fact that we are actually in Jenny's head and we're following Jenny, because I feel like a lot of times when there's a human fae like adventure story, a lot of the time it's the human that we're following. So I think it's a really unique perspective to actually be in the mind of Jenny instead of getting the human's view on this entire situation. We are getting the fae's view of this situation, and it's a interesting twist on the trope, I guess, of like human ex fairy quest book. I also really enjoy Brackus as a character. He's kind of like the overly charming like car salesman like personality of like this hobgoblin merchant who's like just wants to sell them things at a really upcharged price, and Temperance kind of swindles him out of some merchandise, and he's like, oh, I have a new like appreciation for you because it's not very often that I get taken up. And like he's just kind of this like very powerful but like seems to be like a very nonchalant like car salesman merchant magical item merchant. When I pick it up though, the chapters do start to drag towards the end, and I don't know if it's just because like I've just been fighting a slump so hard lately, or if it's because I'm not loving it, but I feel like I am loving it. I'm only 36% in, so it's hard to tell right now like what my final rating will be. I'm enjoying it and I want to keep reading it, and it's going a lot faster than I had anticipated. Like when I read the first chapter, I thought it was going to be a lot longer, but it's feeling a little quicker now that we're kind of getting into the plot. Although I did really like the beginning when it was sort of setting up the Jenny and Temperance relationship situation, so I'm excited to continue. I'm also excited to see what all the other gals think of this as well, because this is my pick. So I'm nervous. I hope everybody at least enjoys it. I don't care if they all like give it 5 stars or whatever, but it would be nice if they all at least have a good time.
So I have reached the second checkpoint, and it literally, I don't quite know how this worked out, but it ended on like a kind of a reveal kind of thing, and I was sitting there like getting the horse. I literally went, what? What's happening? And like it's cozy, it doesn't like a big reveal, but it's like we were led to believe something else, and now it comes true of what actually happened, and it was just, oh, I'm in my feelings now. I don't know if I like that, but I am having fun. There was one moment that something that Temperance the Witch said that literally made me roll my eyes. I was like, ugh. But I'm enjoying everything else. I'm enjoying the internal conflicts with Jenny. That sounds weird saying out loud, but it probably isn't, but here we are. So I'm liking that. I'm liking seeing the world. I'm liking learning more about fae and mythology and magic, how it's here but not here anymore, that kind of thing, and just the sort of companionship between the three as they go on these quests to kind of gather these things. And I imagine this is what they're going to end up using to defeat the Earl King, but again, I don't know how true that is because I just finished chapter 16 and it was cool. We're going all over England, which again I really like. I think that's kind of cool, and like this is a fun read. This is just not something that I ever sort of, you can wait, that's Revel wanting to come in, but I need to get on the horse first. So it's just not something I kind of expected going into this. If you just told me it was just a sweet cozy story, I'd be like, cool, it's fun. It's not really whimsical, but it's playing on like the British mythology and the sort of building of friendships between people and how to overcome your faults in yourself. For example, that Jenny is really, really prideful and having to overcome that, and having somebody having to sort of go to her and literally be like, bitch, you're being a bitch, why are you doing that, you know, that kind of thing. Which I am enjoying that side of it. It's something I'm enjoying as I'm reading it, but it's also not something that is making me want to always go pick it up, if that makes sense. I have second pony, ears are quiet. So yeah, it's not something that's making me really, really want to sort of dive into it, but I'm enjoying the world, I'm enjoying exploring the story. I think I just expected it to be different than what it is. I think I expected it to be more of a, not necessarily battling the Elk King, but instead of going on these quests, right, to get these things, I sort of expected it more of being an outernal, is that a word? It is now, fight kind of against the Elk King, that kind of thing, because while on these quests they fail but haven't failed, right? So it doesn't really feel like there's many stakes, and like by stakes I'm not meaning like massive external stuff, but just something that's a little bit more meat to it, right? Something that I just kind of think, oh, if you're going on this quest, I'd kind of expect more of a try-fail cycle kind of thing. That just isn't really happening, but I am enjoying myself. I'm excited to get into the last part. I do have a feeling it's going to sort of finish too neatly wrapped up in a bow for me, but I'm having fun as I'm working, so which is fun. Do you agree with me, Rebel? Well, by that face I say he doesn't. Well, he's wrong, so.
Hello, this update comes to you from bed because I'm a slob. I'm also not wearing any makeup, so enjoy that. I've just finished chapter 16 of Greenteeth. Still no smut or romance. Rachel. False advertising.
Rachel's lied to me.
I'm really enjoying this book. It's great. So Temperance and Jenny and Brachus have gone off to the Fae court to get some help defeating the Earl King. To defeat the Earl King, and have been sent on 3 quests, which they've now completed at the end of chapter 16. They had to get poison from the back of a giant boar, they had to get iron from the heart of a fallen star, and they had to get the horn of a unicorn. I love it. The whimsy, the fairy tale, it's gorgeous. Love it. Love it, love it. Beautiful. I haven't read a book like this since I was a teenager. It's a breath of fresh air. The writing is beautiful. I'm blowing through it. It's a very easy read. It's good fun. I'm enjoying all the characters. Temperance is great. Jenny is great. Brachus is great. They have a dog now. I like the king and queen of the High Fae. I'm really enjoying this. It's great. It's a complete departure from what I would normally read, and that's fine. I think I needed it. It's a breath of fresh air, as I say. Well done, Molly O'Neill. I'm really enjoying this, and thanks, Rachel.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Thanks a lot
for making me read this, even if it was under false pretenses. Who knows, maybe this final section, suddenly everyone will start screwing each other. We can hope.
I am now done with the next part, which is chapters 9 through 16 of Greenteeth. Once again been tabbing, although my tabbing has not been quite as intense this time. I have had an interesting ride with this part because there were definitely things that I really enjoyed and conversations that I really enjoyed. There's this very key element to this part that I actually had a lot of problems with. Temperance and Jenny are accosted by a group of soldiers who are threatening to kill them. They initially are only threatening to kill Jenny because Jenny looks like a monster, so they are terrified of Jenny and therefore they're threatening to kill her. And when Temperance intercedes, they then threaten Temperance. They were going to kill Jenny. just based on appearance alone. Jenny overpowers them, and Temperance stops Jenny from killing them and begs for their lives, and Jenny is really hurt by this. And the exact moment that it happens, Jenny says to Temperance, is it really worth the risk? What if we wake up tomorrow morning with pitchforks at our throats and not enough magic to defend ourselves? Didn't you learn anything from being thrown in my lake? Most of the time when this happens, it's not the Earl King or witchcraft or the High Fae, it's just humans being human. I'm just as human as these men, Temperance said, gesturing the other two, still lying motionless on the road. Well, I'm not human, which is exactly why these three attacked me, even without a second thought. So you want to prove them right by slaughtering them when they're helpless? Maybe they were right, and you are the one who has forgotten what I am. I'm done arguing. Heal him. Heal them all if you want. If they come after us again, then I'll put them in the earth. And that's the thing, like there's a whole conversation here around human flaws. And the thing is that on the one hand, I understand to an extent why Temperance wouldn't want to see these men murdered. On the other hand, I completely understand Jenny. That they fall out because Temperance then wants Jenny to apologize. So later on, Jenny hurts herself and then Temperance goes to heal her, and Jenny doesn't want to be healed because she is annoyed that Temperance used her healing magic on these men who wanted to kill them. And then afterwards, Temperance is like, well, you know, if you just say sorry, I will heal you. I don't know, like everything about it is very much like Temperance having this weird moral high ground because she didn't let Jenny kill the man that wanted to kill her, because Jenny didn't adhere to human morality, and I really dislike that. And I really don't like the idea that to be a good person you need to have higher moral standards than those who would harm you, and it's normally used against women and marginalized peoples. So it's just something that I find really exhausting. And then later on, Jenny apologizes. Temperance hasn't apologized, but Temperance is also in the wrong. She stopped Jenny from going with her own nature. They literally would have murdered both of them if it weren't for Jenny, but then Jenny is in the wrong because she doesn't want the risk of leaving them alive. The only thing is that in the last few pages of this section, Temperance does kind of need to apologize. So the new task for this section is they need to go and take a unicorn's horn, and they overpower this unicorn, and then they're going to kill the unicorn so that they can take its horn, and Jenny lets it go and she says that she can't, and then Temperance gets super angry with her. You just couldn't? My children could die, my whole village could die, and you just couldn't? I thought you were with me on this. I thought we were allies. I thought we trusted each other. So then Jenny just says, I'm sorry. Jenny says that she couldn't kill it because of the eyes. What about his bloody eyes meant that you had to damn my children? You had no problem killing those soldiers on the road. I had to plead with you for their lives. But when it comes to a dumb animal, suddenly you're soft-hearted. And like, that's the thing. So it has actually shown Temperance being the one in the wrong, but I feel like Temperance gets off the hook so much quicker than Jenny did, because Jenny, it's like the bulk of this section, and Temperance is off the hook by the end of the chapter, and it's still Jenny saying sorry all of the time. So the only thing is that Temperance says thank you, because I think even though you might have damned my village, I think you've saved my soul, because she didn't want to be a murderer. But I don't know. I don't like Temperance in this section. I really don't, because I'm maternal. I would probably be a horrible person if something was putting my children in danger and something else got in my way. I'm not saying that I am a better person than Temperance, but the way the story is pitching it, it's like for the majority of it, Temperance is more in the right than Jenny, and that's not on. Like, everyone that Jenny converses with throughout the section is just saying, you know, swallow your pride, but I disagree. But positives, there were positives. We have a mention of Alfred the Great, which was pretty cool. We also have several mythological creatures in here. We have an Afnak, which is like a crocodile platypus thing. We also have I don't actually know how the Welsh pronunciation is, but we have a Glacian. I need to look up the Welsh pronunciation.
Editing Rachel here to say, I'm glad I'm not the only one who couldn't figure out these Welsh words.
But that's a man with a horse head, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. Really, really niche mythological characters going on there. And then we also had a really emotional section talking about motherhood, about what it means to be a mother, about love, what you would do for your children. And we learn that Jenny's daughter, Jenny, has actually passed away. And the way that Jenny's been coping with it is that she pretends that they're just too far away to be able to visit each other. That was really sad and really emotional. I really liked the unicorns and the way they were were depicted. They didn't have to kill the unicorn but still succeeded was really good. It is leaning a lot into motherhood and the trauma and coping, and I do really like those aspects. There's a section here where they're kind of stuck in this nightmare zone, and all of Temperance and Jenny's nightmares are to do with their children. So it is a lot of like, you know, the biggest fear that you will feel as a mother is always to do with your children. So there were lots of interesting things going on in here. We'll see how the last part goes now that they're sort of making amends, and hopefully I will have a better time with the conclusion.
Hey guys, a quick check-in after chapter 16 of Greenteeth. I just got back from Istanbul, so I'm not fully settled back in yet, but I just have pretty much one thing to say at this point, and that is if anything had happened to the unicorn, I would have been so cross because, I mean, already the kitten eating at the start, and yeah, just... You can't hunt beautiful, pure unicorns. So there's been a couple of cop-outs when it comes to these quests that our team of adventurers are completing. Like, one was fair enough, rode a boar and combed it, sorted. Number 2, go under a mound and defeat the, defeat the puzzle, work out what happened, and then wake up with a sack full of iron. Like, sacks just filled with iron. And now a unicorn has basically just been like, we found an old unicorn that wants to die, so, and wants to be euthanized and is in pain. So, yeah, you don't have to feel bad about hunting it and taking its horn. Oh, guys, I will see you at the end. I need to get some sleep. I need to finish this book. And hopefully I'll be making more sense by the end. Literally, my flight got back in last night, and I am still I'm still in holiday mode, so yeah, making very little sense. Mwah.
It's been about 24 hours since I've updated you. I finished the second section, so now I'm on chapter 16. And I am really still enjoying it. I listened to the audiobook today for quite a while I started packing for my move. I'm doing like a little like reset vlog, I guess, because I had to I need to pack up my library and all my like office decor and stuff because we're having painters come in a couple days. That will definitely be up before you see this, so I'll link it down below. I'm exhausted, so pardon me if I just don't seem really enthused. I am fighting the urge to go to bed at 8:30 p.m. However, I wanted to update you before I forgot so I could continue on with the book tomorrow. They have all just finished the 3 trials that they set out to complete. They like literally just finished the 3rd one in chapter 16. So I'm assuming in the next chapter they're gonna go back to the Faerie King and like tell them they've done it and give him the final item. So they fought the boar, and then they had to get iron from this like weird enchanted cave thing, and then the 3rd trial was to get a horn from a unicorn, and they thought they were gonna have to kill the unicorn, which was really sad. And Jenny actually at the last minute like let go of the unicorn. She was like, I can't do it, like I can't kill this unicorn, it like reminds me too much of my daughter. I looked at its eyes and it has her eyes, blah blah whatever. And I guess that Jenny's daughter, who's also a Jenny Greenteeth, had died like a few years back, 50 years ago, and she never told like Temperance that she was dead, but in that moment she was like, I can't do it, and she kind of like had a little breakdown. And I thought it was a nice way to kind of humanize Jenny because she is obviously a monster. There have also been a few instances where Temperance and Jenny are like kind of bickering and not seeing eye to eye, and I think it was because like the point of all that was to kind of show us like Temperance is a human and Jenny is a monster, and they like see things differently about the world. They see like other humans differently. There were some men that had attacked them because they saw Jenny and got scared, and then they were hurt, and Temperance wanted to save them, and Jenny was like, no, they attacked us first, like why should we waste energy trying to like heal them or save them? And they got in a really big fight about it, and they actually separated ways for a little bit, which was kind of crazy, until ultimately they like Jenny went after them. Jenny. So I thought that was a nice touch with the unicorn scene where Jenny was like the one to kind of be like, no, I can't do it, like it's too cruel, because it did kind of humanize her after we just saw how inhuman she can also be. And I think that, as well as the theme of friendship, I think that another theme in this story is probably going to be like the difference of like what makes you a monster or like what makes you a human. And I think by the end, I'm assuming we'll see that like we're all kind of more closely related than we would imagine, because otherwise like humanizing Jenny in that moment wouldn't make much sense, because it was a little bit like out of character. But I personally liked it because they had just been fighting a little bit before that, but they ended up getting the unicorn horn without killing the unicorn, because a really elderly unicorn saw that Jenny like, you know, spared the one unicorn and kind of came over and just like shed its horn for them. And now they're about to go back and see the Fairy King, and I don't really have much more to say at this moment. I'm still liking the world. I love how it's kind of enveloping like all of the like folklore and fairy tales that like, you know, we would have learned about as a kid. There was mention of King Arthur, there's mentions of unicorns, there's mentions of dragons, there's all kinds of like Welsh, Celtic, English folklore like woven into the dialogue, especially like Jenny and Brachus being of the Fae themselves are kind of like, sometimes here and there they'll take the opportunity to like educate Temperance on like a legend or a folklore as they're walking, and you know, share stories with her. And they're all three really becoming like good friends. And even Jenny admits finally, like she's been so curmudgeon-y to Brachus this entire time, and she even like admitted like, oh, he's like my only friend. He was my only friend before I met Temperance. So it's just really sweet and wholesome. I'm still loving the characters. There's also been a cute doggy introduced. Well, I say cute doggy, but he's like a really huge hunting dog. I think his name is Cabal. I was listening to the audio and I couldn't tell if she was saying Cabal or Caval with a V, but I think it's Cabal. Anyways, he's precious and I love him. Nothing better happened to him. And yeah, I don't really have too much more to say than that. I'm still enjoying it. I haven't looked at my Kobo, but I've listened to the next section, which I think was also 30%. So I should be about 60, maybe 61% of the way through the book, which is fantastic. I have more packing to do tomorrow. So I'm really kind of hoping to listen to the next like 30 or 40% and maybe finish this book on tomorrow, which is April 1st, which would be great for me because tomorrow is the start of Draconathon, and as much as I'm loving this book, I do really want to start some of my dragon books as soon as possible. But I'm really enjoying this and I'm excited to keep going. And I also have to start figuring out how to edit this video soon. We decided to do my pick first because for the second pick, like time frame that we've selected, I will be like literally middle of moving, so the most I can do is like record some clips and send them off. But I'm excited to figure this project out. It's been really fun collaborating with everyone and just getting to do something kind of like more social, because BookTube, obviously like the comments, I love chatting in the comments with everyone and I love like saying my thoughts and posting it in that like process, but the like act of reading and the act of filming are so solitary that it's been really fun to kind of have a little social sphere of my BookTube friends who so kindly invited me to do this video with them. And yeah, it's making it more of like, I don't know, a group project versus a solo project. Anyways, I'm pooped. I might play Marvel Rivals for like maybe an hour and then go to bed. I'm also just really tired, but I need to do something. I could start editing a video that I also need to go up in a couple days, but like, do I want to be productive or do I want to do something a little bit more brain rot?
Okay, this isn't a checkpoint. I'm in the middle of the like what I'm assuming is the ultimate boss fight, and the fucking dog dies. This is unacceptable, authors. Kill as many humans as you want. I don't care. But leave the dogs out of it, man. I've just like thrown my book across the room. This is not okay. I am not okay. This book has just taken a very dark turn. First the dog.
Jenny has just murdered Temperance.
Like straight up murdered her. This was supposed to be a romantasy, Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel.
Rachel's lied to me.
What is happening here? I didn't sign up for this.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I've just finished Greenteeth. This is not my proper roundup. This is just me babbling thoughts. Excalibur, the Lady of the Lake, King Arthur, the Knights of the Round. What? Also, there was no romance in this book, Rachel.
Rachel!
Have you been missold a book by a certain booktuber? Were you expecting love and fluff and sex and instead received a dog being stabbed with a unicorn horn and your favourite hobgoblin being sacrificed by an evil fae? You may be entitled to compensation. Rachel, what the fuck?
Rachel's lied to me.
In all seriousness, this was a very good book. I enjoyed it a lot. It did take a weird turn towards the end. I wasn't expecting Excalibur. I wasn't expecting Jenny to be the Lady of the Lake. I feel like it ended quite quickly. She threw everything at this book in the last section. I was a bit frustrated that the unicorn horn didn't turn out to even be enough to deal with the Earl King. When she managed to stab him with it, it didn't even do anything. He just possessed Brachus instead. That was not ideal. But luckily, they just had Excalibur lying around. So I'm glad I read it. It's a good yarn. Lots of fairy tale whimsy. Really enjoyed it. Not romantasy. Rachel.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Thanks a lot.
But still a solid, say a 4-star read from me. But it's not romantasy. Let's just clear that up.
Hey vlog, my final check-in since I have finished Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill. I did enjoy the ending. The issues that I was having in the previous section where I was talking about the conflict between Jenny and Temperance is addressed but not resolved, and it was done in an interesting way because it kind of leaves it on a let's agree to disagree. And while in part I understand, on the other I disagree, I like that the author isn't telling us what to think, isn't telling us what we should feel or how we should perceive this conflict, and I think that was interesting. So while I think that potentially she bit off more than she can chew, I think it was a conversation that required so much more depth and nuance and thought and page time than she could give it. It's an interesting conversation starter, and I'm glad that the author hasn't so overtly sided with one or the other, which was good. Other than that, I really did enjoy the other elements of this book. The plot had some conveniences, but it's a standalone and it's a short one, so I kind of get it. But there were also elements of the plot that were where you thought it was going to go in this obvious direction, and then you reach a stumbling block and you have Brachus almost dying. There's a moment where you think Temperance is dead, and then you think that they've overcome the Earl. You think that Jenny might join the Earl. There are lots of like what might happen here. And while I know that this is cozy fantasy, so I kind of assumed that especially Temperance wasn't dead, but probably even Brachus, and I definitely knew that Jenny hadn't flipped. I was very curious to kind of keep reading and see how that would pan out. So even though I knew that that wouldn't be the actual resolution, I was interested to see how they got there, if that makes sense. So that was still good. I really liked the Arthurian element. I think the Arthurian part was really good, especially because Jenny is either the Lady of the Lake or descended from the Lady of the Lake, because this village is Avalon, built upon where Avalon used to be, so it's a heavy source of power. So you do have Jenny pulling on that power, which I thought was fascinating. And then on top of that, we've also got where she is a Lady of the Lake. So is she the Lady of the Lake? Was her mother? Like, I'm curious about that. We don't really get, I don't think, a full answer to that, but she can pull on the magic of Avalon, which is really cool. I did also like the way that at the ending you have Temperance's kids playing in the lake with Jenny, because obviously that subverts the entire narrative around Jenny, and the idea that Jenny is this monster I think was really cool, because obviously she's now playing with the kids in the lake instead of consuming them. And then also just the tenderness of Jenny interacting with Temperance kids after we find out that little Jenny is no longer with us was also a very sweet and emotional moment. Caval dies, which is the dog, and I wasn't as emotionally impacted excited as I feel like I should be for a dog dying. I feel like there was so much going on that we didn't have time to really grieve Cavall. I don't know if the author did that deliberately because it's supposed to be cozy. I think potentially she wants you to be sad about it, but not like for a prolonged period maybe. So it was an interesting one because it's like, well, why bother killing off the dog then? Almost. I don't know. But it was a decent ending. I was really glad that it kind of pulled through at the end there. I have rated this 3.5 on my core pile. And unlike I usually do, because I normally round down, I have rounded this one up because at least 0.5 of that is my issue with the conflict. I don't think that that is really fair on the book because that was not really the intention of the book. So while it's something I did have issues with, I don't think that a lot of people going into a cozy book are going to want that kind of conversation, so that is just a me thing. I've left it at a 4-star and I am excited to read more by this author. I'll definitely pick up something else by this author if they get something else out. Those are my final concluding thoughts on Greenteeth. I'm really excited to see how the girls have done with this one and what their thoughts are, and I'm really excited to chat to them about it once we've all read it and we've all got our thoughts out. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed joining us. Thank you so much for having me on your channel, Rachel, and I'll let you tell everyone about what comes next.
Well, chickens are out, the yard has all been sorted, horses are in the fields. I traipsed around a muddy field earlier and I finished Greenteeth. I finished it within like an hour at work and I enjoyed it. I think for me it's going to sit around the 4-star mark, right? And Rachel, I love you, Rach, but this was not this was not a romance. It was cozy, it was sweet, but it was not a romance. But let's get into my thoughts on Greenteeth. It is a story that is very much around friendships, very much around on people in positions of power twisting others into believing things that aren't real. Well, not real, but it's twisting people into believing that maybe, what words am I looking for? You're getting this unedited shit, Rachel. This is what I do all the fucking time. Yeah, people in power who are twisting people's perceptions of others into making them feel like they are othering, are not who they actually are evil, are all of that kind of thing. And it's also a story about, from our main character Jenny, who is a Jenny, which can get confusing, but it's actually, I quite like it, is learning that maybe she isn't on her own anymore. Maybe there is things in her past that will help her present, that she has found a close-knit family that isn't there by blood, even from those who she thinks were kind of rivals in a sense, which was sweet. It was cute. I really liked how it all came to the conclusion, because I was a bit worried about how the conclusion was going to end, because I kind of thought, oh, okay, because it wasn't what I thought, right? I kind of thought going into it, even though I didn't read the blurb, but once we got to sort of the pinch point, I kind of was like, oh, this is the direction we're going. I kind of thought that maybe it would wrap up too neatly, and it didn't. It wrapped up really well. It wrapped up in a way that had consequences, and I'm sat there at work, I'm mucking out these horses, turning these horses out, and I'm like, don't do this to me, don't make me cry at work. Don't make me do that. And to be fair, it didn't, because it did end up, because again, it's cozy. If you can hear a cat, this is a cat called Jelly that screams at me to let it into the office just so it can have some dreamies, and it's going to have to wait until I finish this last update. Want to come up? No, she just doesn't want to. Hang on, see if you can see her. Can you see her? I can't really see because it's bright, but anyway, that's Jelly. So yeah, it had some consequences that were quite high, but again, it's still a cozy book. So while you're reading it, you're thinking, wait, like, is this to take out the cozy genre? It doesn't, just because of how it all resolves itself, but it is quite high stakes in a couple of places, and I do like how it incorporates old legends into the resolution, shall we say. I'm not gonna say what old legends, but I did like that. I like the, you know, how everything kind of came together that left me feeling like, oh my god, what's going to happen, don't do this to me, to, oh okay, I trust the author, it's a cozy, you trust the author, Molly O'Neill, that she is going to get me through this, and I need to trust her not to panic that maybe what I'm seeing on screen isn't how it's always going to end up happening at the end. And that is kind of what happened. And I did have a really, really good time with this. It was entertaining. It was cozy. It's not as cozy as like what I'd say bookshops and bone jars, legends and lattes kind of thing. But even if you didn't like legends and lattes, I'd still try this because there's a bit more meat to it, right? I'd probably comp it to a little bit like Nettle and Bone, because that is a quest fantasy, but it's the same kind of thing here. They go through all these little trials and then they come to the end to defeat the big bad, right? And in this case it was it the Elf King? I've just read this and already I'm forgetting, but that's just because my brain at the moment is just mush. To defeat him, and then this is where earlier I know I said that I was struggling because there was no proper failure. These had failure after failure after failure. They try and fail, then they succeeded in a way that none of us sort of predicted. Even the characters didn't know. And I liked it. There was a couple of instances where something high stakes happened and I was like, I don't believe that's actually what happened. And I think you're meant to not believe that's what happened, right? But we don't know the outcome of what it is until you get to the resolution of the plot. So, which is cute. I loved the epilogue. The epilogue was just such a warm fuzz of heart of, you know, the people together, and basically a family that isn't by blood, and it's just cute, and I just love it. I loved how it concluded like that and how everything went on. I kind of wanted a bit more maybe from the actual villagers' point of view, or showing a bit more of the villagers being under this sort of supreme force of magic and all of this, and being like, what's happening, you know, wanting something and fearful, and the repercussions, but also how they recovered from everything after that. But we didn't really get to see that recovery, but I can imagine it in my head. But I had a really, really good time. While it wasn't a romance, there was a family blooming, I suppose, if you want to stretch it that far. But so far it was a good choice, Rachel. I have completely forgotten. I still have not got the narrator's name because my phone is right there and I cannot get it. But anyway, I had a good time. It was a good pick, Rachel. Solid 4 stars from me. 10 out of 10 I would recommend. Especially if you're feeling a little bit kind of down or just want a warm hug. I'd definitely pick this up. Highly recommend. I enjoyed Greenteeth. Who am I? Enjoying Greenteeth. But anyway, back to you, Rachel.
Oh, you guys, they nearly got me. They nearly got me. I thought this was gonna have an edgy ending. I thought that Jenny had literally killed Temperance. Threw her in the lake. I thought it had happened. There was still part of me that was like, really? After the unicorn thing? Really? Are we really doing this? But then I was like, no! Yeah, they got me. I believed them. They psyched me out. I did like a little video. I did a video kind of in real time, like, this is a psych out, right? This is a psych out. Right, breathe. Greenteeth was really sweet. I did enjoy it. It was entertaining. It was a quest novel. We go on all sorts of quests with our central characters. It was full of folklore and friendship and fairies, and yeah, it was heartwarming and I liked it. I only gave it 3 stars because it was a little bit predictable. I feel like that's a little bit hypocritical because I literally just said that it psyched me out at the end. But yeah, in terms of the kind of the vibes, the friendship, the like, as I said in my last update, some of it is a little bit kind of conveniently dropped into the hands of the main characters, but the ending worked quite well, and I cared about these characters. I cared about, you know, Jenny not going off-piste and murdering everybody at the end. I cared about that, which is what you want from a kind of whimsical fantasy book. So yeah, I'm really glad that I read this. This is not my usual sort of thing. Like I say, usually I don't like books that are too nice. I'm busy reading nonsense, brutal nonsense with weird plot lines. And like I say, I wouldn't have necessarily gone for this one from the cover, but it delivered. It delivers a nice, friendly fantasy, but definitely not a romantasy.
Rachel!
Although I reckon that Jenny had a little bit of a crush on Temperance. A little bit, a bit. I was absolutely so pleased to be a part of this and read with my fellow witches, and I'm excited for the next one because, yeah, so although, like I say, not actually a romantasy, but similar sort of vibes, cozy, fairy tale, enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Rachel, for hosting. Mwah!
I have finished Greenteeth. I thought this was overall really, really cute, and I loved the focus on friendship in here between Temperance and Jenny. There was no romance.
Rachel!
I thought by the description on Storygraph that it was going to be sapphic, and alas, it was not. But you know what? The real romance was the friendship we made along the way. But I thought overall this story was so fun, and I really loved the spin on like the fae human like quest trope, because a lot of the times we follow the human's perspective. I loved getting to follow the fae's perspective in this one. So after they complete the third trial, they get this item from the Faerie King and they go off to fight the Earl King. And I really loved the way that it wrapped up, because I felt like it didn't happen too easily. There definitely were a lot of like trial and error moments in this final battle, and I think it was a nice way to end the story, because oftentimes I think in like a standalone like this, the ending is kind of rushed and feels too easy and doesn't feel like they earned it, if that makes sense. But there were a few things throughout the book that I like didn't exactly love. So for example, Temperance and Jenny have a disagreement, I think near the beginning of part 2, and for a little bit I was just kind of like, oh, because they separated, and then when they like came back together, they didn't really address it. They just kind of were like, oh, like let's just be friends again. But I think it would have been nice to address it, because the way that the conflict was set up would have been a really nice moment to kind of show a juxtaposition between like humanity and like being a fae, being a monster, and lacking that humanity, because they were basically arguing over saving the lives of some humans who had tried to attack Jenny, and Jenny wanted to, you know, defend herself and attack them back, and Temperance was like, stop, no, like we should heal them, don't kill them, blah blah blah, and then they get in a fight about it. And I thought like that would have been a nice moment to incorporate this really like interesting narrative of like, you know, even though these two completely different people, one fae, one human, are friends and have bonded together over this common goal of trying to defeat the Earl King, and then there's this huge gap that still is like separating them, because one is a human, and with that comes humanity and human emotions. And Jenny, as a fae lake monster who doesn't often have human contact, you know, is lacking those things. She eats people who fall into her lake sometimes. And I really thought it would have been a nice touch to kind of like show that juxtaposition, and then add a little crumb here and there of Jenny slowly gaining like humanity and like understanding where Temperance is coming from. But the conflict like kind of didn't really have a purpose, other than like maybe a reason for Jenny to like show up to the second trial later than the other two, because the other two like get stuck in there and she kind of like saves them. But I feel like there could have been that like, oh, like have her show up late to the trial because they got in an argument, but it would have been nice to like have given it a second purpose, because it did feel kind of like pointless. But overall, I really enjoyed the conclusion. I think the Earl King like definitely was so powerful, and like he could have killed them. He almost killed them all at different points. And it was nice to kind of see that there were consequences, and it was also nice to see that there were like repercussions and there were things at stake. Like Temperance lost her arm, I think her right arm, like from the forearm down. Jenny cut it off because at one point Jenny kind of like switches sides, but then really she at the end she like double crosses the Earl King and was trying to save Temperance and Brackus the entire time, which I also liked. I didn't see her, like, I was like very confused why she sided with him, because I was like, she very obviously like hated him the entire time that they were like on their quest, and then all of a sudden she was like agreeing with him, and I didn't put two and two together that she was probably playing the double agent in that situation. So I mean, good on Molly O'Neill, because she kind of did stump me there for a minute. I was like, what the fuck is Jenny doing? And it did confuse me for a moment, but then, you know, obviously like as Jenny is like switching back to the correct side, then I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. There was also a moment in here where the dog died, Caval, and it happened in such a way that like we really glossed over it. I felt not a single emotion for that dog, and it, you know, that's really sad that I didn't feel bad for him, because like he was such a cute addition. Like when the Fairy Queen, you know, offered Caval to them to go with them, I was like, oh my gosh, a dog companion, how cute. And then like he was so helpful with the boar. He saved Jenny from the boar, and yeah, and he was like really sweet, and he kind of like brought a little warmth out of Jenny, I think, in some places. And then, you know, like he just kind of like just died, and I don't know, like I didn't really like feel anything. And I don't know if it's like just because he wasn't around for that long that I kind of like was like eh. But like normally an animal death would like severely like make me cry. I'm gonna put this down, you know what it looks like by now. But yeah, normally an animal death would very much so make me cry, and this one kind of just, I guess we're moving on. So that was a little unfortunate. I think overall I'm gonna give it a like 4-star, probably like on socials, like Storygraph, but I think like it's probably like a high 3.75. Like personally, I think it was so close to being a 4-star for me, so I'm just gonna like give it the 4, because I can see the merit. It had a lot of whimsy, magic. There were a lot of nods to folklore that exists like in our world, and this did take place in, I believe it's in England, and it's like wherever Avalon used to be, I think, is like where this like Jenny's Lake and Chipping Appleby, I think, are located there. And so it's like it's got a lot of nods to like lore and folklore that we know, and it was also just like really heavy on like the friendship and perseverance, and I guess like putting aside your differences, or like, you know, monsters and men like can get along and under certain circumstances. And yeah, it was really cute. I feel like it's one that felt kind of nostalgic, even though like I've never read it before. It just came out recently. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm so thankful that you know, I got to participate in this collab experience. Thank you to everybody for coming on my channel. Thank you, Faye, Mare, Ray, and Laura. I will have all of them linked down below. Make sure you go check them out. I'm watching you. I'll know if you don't. But keep your eyes peeled and alert on their channels for future collabs of this sort. Wink, wink. And thank you everyone for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a green leaf emoji down in the comments in honor of Miss Jenny Greenteeth, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!